Ladies and gentlemen, picture this: a woman walking down life's path with no one by her side, no circle of friends to cheer her on. Some may look at her and see isolation, maybe even pity her, but she knows better. She is not just alone, she is building something, someone stronger than she ever thought she could be. This speech is for every woman who feels the world expects her to fit into a mold, to be surrounded by others, to play roles for acceptance. But what if we told you that solitude could be the most powerful journey you ever embark on? Why listen? Because today we'll uncover the real, unfiltered strength in standing on your own. We're going to dive deep into why true strength, confidence, and purpose often come from a journey you must walk alone. Let's unlock the reasons why. In a world pushing us to seek approval, sometimes the boldest act is simply to be unapologetically yourself. There's a kind of strength that's only found when you're alone. Not alone in the sense of simply being by yourself, but truly standing apart, without the comfort of a familiar group, without validation, and without the constant reassurances we often rely on from friends and companions. This solitude can be uncomfortable, even painful, but within it lies an opportunity for a kind of growth and strength that cannot be gained any other way. When a woman finds herself without friends, society may be quick to cast judgments or assumptions. But what if this state of being alone is not a disadvantage, but a powerful opportunity to become someone who stands strong on her own? Solitude gives a woman the chance to build her resilience in ways that are impossible when she's always surrounded by others. When you walk alone, you are forced to look within yourself for answers, guidance, and even reassurance. There's no one to lean on, no one to run to, no one to give you advice. In those moments, you're learning self-reliance step by step. You're learning that the only person you truly have control over and responsibility for is yourself. This realization can be life-changing. When you know you can rely on yourself, that you can take on challenges and survive hard times alone, it gives you a new sense of confidence in a quiet but powerful form of self-assurance. Being without friends also teaches you how to silence the noise. Friendships, while often beautiful and supportive, come with their own set of opinions, judgments, and expectations. Friends can intentionally or not shape how you view yourself, your dreams, and your abilities. They can encourage you, but also hold you back. When you're alone, though, you're free from those external voices. There's no one comparing your life to theirs or subtly influencing your choices. It's just you facing yourself, and this is where clarity begins to emerge. In solitude, you learn to distinguish your own voice from the voices of others. You start to recognize what you truly want, not what others want for you. You realize what makes you happy, not what makes others approve of you. This kind of clarity is rare and invaluable, and it comes only when you are brave enough to be alone. A woman without friends must also learn to redefine her self-worth. Society tends to value women based on their social ties and the opinions of those around them. Women are often expected to be social, approachable, and connected. But without the validation that comes from friendships, you learn to find worth in your own opinions, in your own achievements, and in your own journey. You begin to see yourself through a lens of independence and self-acceptance, rather than through the perspectives of others. This process of redefining self-worth may be challenging, but it results in a kind of strength that no one else can take away from you. When you no longer rely on others for your value, you become unshakable. Your self-worth is rooted in who you are, not in who approves of you. Solitude also allows you to develop a deep sense of purpose. Without the distractions and influences of friends, you have the freedom to pursue what truly matters to you. You have time and space to reflect on your dreams, set personal goals, and create a vision for your life that aligns with your values. Often, when surrounded by friends, we may adopt shared dreams, aspirations, or even limitations. But alone, you can explore your unique purpose and work toward it without compromise. This purpose becomes your compass, guiding you even in difficult times. It becomes something that fuels your spirit, gives your life meaning, and reinforces your strength. Being a woman without friends also forces you to confront and overcome societal judgments. People may wonder why you're alone, or they may even assume that something must be wrong with you. But in facing these judgments, you gain the strength to live authentically, regardless of what others think. This resilience is invaluable. It's about learning to stand tall and true to yourself, regardless of how you're perceived. It's about choosing authenticity over acceptance, self-respect over approval. In doing so, you free yourself from the expectations of others and find a life that is truly yours. When a woman walks alone, she may be tested, but in that testing, she becomes stronger, wiser, and more resilient. She learns to be her own guide, to trust her instincts, and to find comfort within herself. She learns to build a life that is filled with purpose and meaning, a life that doesn't depend on the presence or approval of others. This strength in solitude is something that no one can give you and no one can take away. It's a strength that stands the test of time, a strength that comes from knowing that you are enough on your own. And when you reach this place, you realize that being a woman without friends isn't a limitation, it's a testament to a profound inner strength that shines from within. Learning to trust yourself is one of the most powerful skills you can develop, yet it's also one of the most challenging. Many people, especially women, are raised to seek validation from the world around them, family, friends, society, or romantic partners. But there comes a time when life demands a shift. Maybe you find yourself alone without the usual support system, or maybe you're beginning to realize that true strength comes from within. Learning to trust yourself doesn't happen overnight, and it often requires being put in situations where you have no choice but to rely on your own instincts, wisdom, and strength. The journey is transformative, leading you to a place where you can stand firmly in who you are, no matter what life throws at you. Trusting yourself begins with listening to your own voice. In a world filled with endless opinions and advice, it can be hard to discern what you actually think and feel. Friends and family, though often well-meaning, may unintentionally project their own fears, insecurities, and dreams onto you. As a result, it's easy to find yourself living someone else's version of your life. But when you take time alone, when you embrace solitude, you give yourself the space to listen to your own inner voice. This is the voice that knows what's best for you, even if the world disagrees. It's the quiet, persistent voice that rises above the noise of opinions, telling you what feels right, what feels true. Learning to trust yourself starts with recognizing this voice and giving it the respect it deserves. Another crucial part of self-trust is learning to embrace and understand your intuition. Intuition is that gut feeling, that inner knowing that seems to appear out of nowhere. It's a guiding force that we all have, but are sometimes taught to ignore or doubt. Especially in a society that values logic and rationality, intuition can seem unreliable. But trusting yourself means honoring those moments when you just know something. Think of the times when you knew something was wrong or right without having a logical explanation. Maybe you walked away from a relationship, took a job, or made a difficult decision that didn't make sense to anyone else but felt absolutely necessary to you. Those were moments when your intuition spoke up. When you begin to rely on that inner sense, you develop a trust that doesn't waver based on external circumstances. Learning to trust yourself also requires a willingness to face and learn from your mistakes. No one is perfect, and trusting yourself doesn't mean you'll never make a wrong choice. In fact, it means the opposite. Trusting yourself means that even when things don't go as planned, you believe in your ability to figure things out, to adjust, to learn, and to grow. You understand that mistakes are part of the journey, not a sign that you're incapable or unworthy. Each time you make a choice and take responsibility for the outcome, you build self-trust. With each mistake, you're reminded that you can navigate through life's ups and downs, that you can fall and get back up wiser and stronger than before. A large part of learning to trust yourself also involves developing a deep sense of self-compassion. Often we're our own harshest critics. When things go wrong, the inner dialogue can be brutal, filled with self-doubt and blame. But to truly trust yourself, you have to be willing to treat yourself with kindness, especially during difficult times. Self-compassion doesn't mean making excuses. It means recognizing that you're human, that you're allowed to struggle, and that you're deserving of forgiveness and understanding. When you cultivate this kind of inner compassion, you create a safe space within yourself. You learn that no matter what happens, you have your own back. This is essential for self-trust because it means that you'll be able to move forward without fear of your own judgment. You become someone who is both strong and gentle with yourself, and that creates a foundation of trust that's unbreakable. Learning to trust yourself also changes how you interact with the world around you. When you trust yourself, you're less likely to seek approval or validation from others. You no longer need constant reassurance because you're secure in your own decisions. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others, but rather that you stop letting their opinions dictate your actions. You become the person who can stand firm in your beliefs and choices even if no one else agrees. You're able to listen to others, appreciate their perspectives, and even consider their advice, but you always return to your own inner compass as the final guide. This independence, born from self-trust, allows you to live authentically, to make choices that align with your true self, rather than what's popular or expected. Learning to trust yourself gives you a kind of peace that nothing external can provide. When you know you can rely on yourself, you no longer live in fear of what others might think or say. You're free to pursue your dreams, to take risks, and to live boldly because you trust that no matter the outcome, you'll be okay. This peace doesn't mean that life won't bring challenges, but it does mean that you'll face those challenges with confidence and inner stability. You'll be able to say, I trust myself to handle whatever comes my way. This is the ultimate freedom, knowing that you are enough, just as you are, and that your own voice is the one worth listening to above all others. In a world that often measures value by the size of your social circle or the number of people who praise you, it can be challenging to feel worthy when you find yourself alone. For many, friendships and social connections are a source of validation, a mirror that reflects our worth, attractiveness, intelligence, or success. But what happens when that mirror is taken away? When a woman finds herself without friends by choice or by circumstance, she has a unique opportunity to redefine her self-worth in a way that is independent of social approval. This journey, though not easy, is one of the most empowering paths to personal growth and true self-acceptance. When a woman no longer has the comfort of friends, she is stripped of the external validation that often shapes her perception of herself. Without a group around her to reinforce her value, she is left with one source for her sense of worth, herself. This solitude can be unsettling, but it forces her to confront the question, what do I bring to the table? For myself, in the silence of solitude, she has no choice but to examine her intrinsic qualities, the parts of herself that don't depend on anyone's approval. She learns to value her resilience, her determination, her creativity, and her intellect, not because others recognize these traits, but because she does. This is the foundation of self-worth that is not swayed by opinions or circumstances. For a woman navigating life without friends, self-worth also becomes a process of internal validation. When you're alone, you learn to validate your experiences, accomplishments, and feelings on your own. You don't need a friend to tell you that you did well or that you're valuable. Instead, you learn to give yourself that affirmation. This self-validation requires a radical honesty with oneself. It means acknowledging your own achievements without diminishing them and being gentle with yourself when you fall short. Self-worth becomes less about fitting into a social mold and more about honoring the unique journey you're on. This is a form of self-love that is resilient and enduring because it isn't tied to fleeting social dynamics. Another powerful part of redefining self-worth outside of social circles is letting go of comparison. When you're alone, there's less pressure to measure yourself against others, to see how you stack up, or to worry about fitting in. Social circles often come with subtle or not so subtle cues about what's normal, what's cool, and what's acceptable, but without these cues, you're free to embrace your own standards and redefine what success means to you. You start to realize that self-worth isn't about meeting someone else's expectations, but about living up to your own values and principles. The freedom that comes from abandoning comparison is profound. You begin to appreciate yourself for who you are rather than who you think you should be. Being without friends also teaches a woman to separate self-worth from the role she plays in others' lives. Often people feel worthy because they are needed, appreciated, or admired by those around them. But when you don't have friends, you are not anyone's confidante, counselor, or companion. This lack of social role can be disorienting at first. However, it presents an opportunity to see yourself as valuable simply for being. Self-worth shifts from what you do for others to who you are at your core. You're no longer defining yourself by how well you fulfill a role, but by how authentically you live your life. You realize that you have worth simply because you exist, because you are a unique individual with your own experiences, dreams, and perspectives. Solitude also empowers a woman to develop a stronger relationship with herself. When you're constantly surrounded by friends, it's easy to focus outward, putting others' needs and opinions first, but in solitude, you turn inward, learning to appreciate yourself in ways that don't depend on others. You may begin new hobbies, set personal goals, or explore your passions. In doing so, you cultivate a deep sense of satisfaction and pride that isn't dependent on outside recognition. This sense of self-fulfillment becomes a core part of your self-worth. You know you are worthy because you are living a life that feels true to you rather than one shaped by social expectations or pressures. Through this process, self-worth becomes about resilience and self-respect. You learn to stand by yourself, to honor your own needs, and to advocate for yourself. This self-respect is critical because it means you won't settle for less than you deserve, whether in relationships, work, or any area of life. When you value yourself deeply, you set boundaries, you protect your peace, and you make choices that honor your well-being. Self-worth gives you the strength to walk away from situations that don't serve you and to wait for those that do. Redefining self-worth without social validation gives a woman a kind of unbreakable confidence. When you know that your worth isn't tied to others' opinions, you become immune to their judgments. You realize that no one else's view of you can change the way you see yourself. This confidence is liberating because it frees you to be fully yourself without needing to conform or seek approval. You become someone who is unapologetically authentic, guided by your own values and beliefs rather than by the shifting tides of social acceptance. In the end, when a woman builds her self-worth independently of friends or social circles, she becomes a force to be reckoned with. She knows her value, she respects herself, and she embraces her uniqueness. This is a self-worth that can't be taken away because it doesn't depend on anyone else. It is a strength that comes from within, a light that shines regardless of who is watching. And this kind of self-worth is the foundation of a life lived with purpose, integrity, and true fulfillment. Loneliness can be a daunting feeling. Many people go to great lengths to avoid being alone, filling their lives with friends, social events, and even social media to keep the silence at bay. However, when you find yourself without friends by choice or circumstance, you may encounter loneliness in its rawest form. But rather than viewing loneliness as something to run from, it can be seen as a powerful opportunity for growth. Overcoming the fear of loneliness is about learning to sit with that silence, to confront those uncomfortable feelings, and to find peace and even strength within yourself. This journey is transformative, and it holds the potential to change your relationship with yourself in ways you never imagined. The first step in overcoming the fear of loneliness is accepting it as a natural part of the human experience. Every person at some point in life feels alone. The challenge isn't avoiding this feeling, but rather learning how to handle it when it comes. There's a tendency to view loneliness as something negative, something that should be quickly filled or fixed. However, this view can create more fear around being alone, as though it's a problem to be solved. By changing the perspective and acknowledging that loneliness is a normal emotion, much like happiness or sadness, you begin to take away its power over you. You learn that feeling lonely doesn't mean you're failing, it simply means you're human. One of the reasons people fear loneliness is because it forces them to confront parts of themselves that may go unnoticed in a busy social life. When you're alone, you don't have the distractions of conversation, activities, or other people's needs. Instead, you're left with yourself, with your thoughts and feelings, and sometimes those can be uncomfortable. This silence can feel intimidating because it exposes insecurities, doubts, and fears that you may have been avoiding. However, this is precisely where the growth happens. When you sit with those uncomfortable feelings rather than running from them, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You become aware of your fears, and through that awareness, you can begin to address them. Being alone also provides a unique opportunity to cultivate self-compassion. Often we look to friends or loved ones to comfort us, to reassure us, or to remind us of our worth. But when you're alone, you have the chance to give yourself that kindness. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same understanding and care that you would give to a close friend. Instead of judging yourself for feeling lonely or weak, you can approach those feelings with gentleness and patience. You remind yourself that it's okay to feel this way, that there's no shame in being alone. This practice of self-compassion becomes a valuable tool that builds resilience. When you know you can comfort yourself, you're less likely to fear loneliness because you know you can handle it. Overcoming the fear of loneliness also involves redefining your relationship with solitude. Solitude doesn't have to be synonymous with loneliness. It can be a deeply fulfilling state of being. When you embrace solitude, you start to see it as a time for self-reflection, for creativity, and for personal growth. You may discover interests and passions that you never had the time or space to explore before. Without the distractions of social obligations, you can dive into activities that bring you joy, whether it's reading, writing, painting, or simply spending time in nature. These moments alone become sources of contentment and fulfillment. You start to realize that being alone doesn't mean being deprived. It means having the freedom to fully engage with yourself in your own life. Another powerful way to overcome the fear of loneliness is by building a stronger sense of independence. When you're used to having friends around, it's easy to rely on them for emotional or even companionship during difficult times. But when you don't have that immediate, you learn to stand on your own 2 feet. You begin to trust your own judgment, to rely on your own strength, and to find solutions within yourself. This independence is empowering because it shows you that you don't need to rely on others to feel whole or complete. You realize that you are fully capable of taking care of yourself, of facing challenges, and of creating a life that feels meaningful even when it's just you. This self-reliance becomes a source of confidence that makes loneliness far less daunting. Overcoming the fear of loneliness allows you to approach future relationships with a greater sense of balance and authenticity. When you've learned to be comfortable alone, you're no longer entering relationships out of need or fear. You're not looking for someone to fill a void or to complete you because you've already found that completeness within yourself. This changes the dynamics of relationships in a profound way. You're able to connect with others not from a place of dependency, but from a place of genuine interest and mutual respect. You know that you'll be okay whether you're with someone or not, which allows you to set healthier boundaries and to choose relationships that truly serve you. This self-sufficiency fosters deeper, more meaningful connections as they are built on shared values and mutual appreciation rather than a need to avoid being alone. The journey to overcoming the fear of loneliness is challenging but incredibly rewarding. It's about shifting your perspective, embracing solitude, and finding peace within yourself. When you stop viewing loneliness as a negative state and start seeing it as an opportunity, you begin to unlock a strength you may not have known you had. You learn that you are enough, that your own company is valuable, and that you are capable of creating a fulfilling life, regardless of your social situation. This sense of inner peace, self-compassion, and independence becomes a foundation that makes you less vulnerable to the ups and downs of social connections. It allows you to approach life with confidence, knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way because you've developed a deep and lasting relationship with yourself. In the end, overcoming the fear of loneliness leads to a life of greater resilience, self-awareness, and genuine fulfillment. When a woman finds herself without friends, she has the rare opportunity to embrace a profound, transformative journey through self-reflection. Solitude allows her the space to look inward without the noise of others' opinions, judgments, or expectations. This is a gift, although one that may feel challenging at first, that encourages deep personal growth and introspection. In this quiet, undisturbed space, she can discover more about herself than ever before. Self-reflection in solitude is a path that brings clarity, helps break down old limitations, and allows for the kind of self-discovery that forms a strong foundation for a richer, more meaningful life. One of the greatest powers of self-reflection is its ability to shed light on the areas in our lives where we've been holding back. In our everyday social lives, it's easy to fall into roles and patterns that suit others' expectations. We often adjust our thoughts, actions, and even our dreams to fit into social molds, sometimes without realizing it. But when a woman spends time in solitude, she has the freedom to step out of those molds and examine herself honestly. In this space, she can ask herself difficult questions. What do I truly want in life? What goals am I passionate about that I may have set aside? What qualities do I value most in myself, and what do I want to nurture? These questions are not only empowering, but essential for genuine self-discovery. With no one else around to influence her thoughts, she is free to delve into the truth of who she really is. Self-reflection also brings a sense of accountability. When you're alone, there's no one to blame, no one to distract from your own actions, habits, and choices. This can be uncomfortable at first as it reveals the areas where you might have been avoiding responsibility. But this accountability is also liberating because it shows a woman that she has the power to shape her own life. Through reflection, she may begin to notice patterns in her behavior, habits that no longer serve her, fears that have held her back, or beliefs that have limited her potential. Recognizing these patterns is the first step in breaking free from them. In solitude, she learns that she has the power to make new choices, to replace old habits with new, healthier ones, and to set her life on a path that truly aligns with her values and aspirations. Solitude allows a woman to cultivate a deeper understanding of her emotions. In social settings, it's easy to push down or ignore emotions that are difficult to face. Friends may offer comfort, but they can also serve as a distraction from really processing those feelings. Alone, however, she has the space to fully experience her emotions without judgment. She can allow herself to feel sadness, disappointment, anger, or even joy fully and without restraint. This emotional processing is essential for personal growth as it teaches her to understand and manage her emotions rather than suppress them. She becomes more attuned to her inner world, learning how to identify her feelings and understand where they come from. This emotional awareness is a powerful skill that enables her to navigate life's challenges with greater resilience and clarity. In addition to emotional awareness, solitude nurtures creativity and vision. When we're constantly surrounded by others, our thoughts and ideas can become intertwined with theirs. Solitude offers a blank slate, a quiet canvas for a woman to explore her own unique ideas, goals, and dreams. She might start journaling, brainstorming, or simply daydreaming about her future. In this creative space, she's free to explore new possibilities without the fear of judgment or rejection. Solitude allows her to dream bigger, to think outside the constraints of her current circumstances, and to envision a future that truly excites her. This creative process is empowering because it reconnects her with her potential and gives her a clear vision of the life she wants to build. Self-reflection in solitude also deepens a woman's sense of purpose. In the absence of social pressures, she can question what truly matters to her. What is her purpose beyond the expectations of others? What impact does she want to make in the world? These questions are difficult but essential, and the answers often lead to a renewed sense of direction and commitment to a life of meaning. Through this introspective journey, she may realize that her purpose is not defined by social roles or validation, but by her unique talents, passions, and values. Solitude gives her the time to explore these aspects of herself, to set goals aligned with her purpose, and to make decisions that bring her closer to the life she feels truly called to live. The journey of self-reflection teaches a woman to value herself in a way that doesn't depend on external validation. She learns that her worth isn't determined by her social circle, but by her own sense of integrity, self-love, and purpose. She begins to recognize that her strengths, talents, and values are enough, that she is enough. This realization builds confidence that goes beyond superficial social status. It's a confidence rooted in a deep understanding of her own worth and potential. The power of self-reflection and growth in solitude is transformative. It empowers a woman to step out of the shadows of social expectations and into her own light. She emerges from this process with a stronger sense of self, a clearer vision of her goals, and an unshakable belief in her own worth. When she finally steps back into the world, she is no longer defined by the people around her. Instead, she is grounded in her own truth, guided by her own purpose, and ready to create a life that reflects her authentic self. Solitude has given her the strength to stand alone, and that strength is the foundation for a future of confidence, fulfillment, and true personal freedom. When a woman finds herself without friends, it can be a disorienting experience, especially if she's relied on others for support, validation, or a sense of identity. But in this space, stripped of social, she has a powerful chance to tap into an inner strength that doesn't depend on external sources. This journey may feel challenging, even unsettling, yet it is in this very process of standing alone that she discovers a new self-sustained confidence. The absence of friends doesn't have to signal loneliness or weakness. Instead, it can be an invitation to rely on her own wisdom, values, and courage. This shift transforms her, enabling her to walk through life with an unwavering sense of self-worth, anchored in the knowledge that she doesn't need anyone else's approval to feel complete. Standing alone teaches a woman that her worth is intrinsic. It isn't tied to the number of friends she has or the opinions others hold of her. In a world that often equates popularity with value, she begins to understand that true worth is not measured by how others see her, but by her own sense of self-respect and integrity. This shift in perspective is deeply liberating, as it frees her from the constant cycle of seeking validation. She no longer feels the need to mold herself to fit someone else's expectations or opinions. Instead, she learns to trust herself, to value her own judgments, and to make choices that reflect her authentic self. This internal shift helps her cultivate an unshakable confidence that doesn't fluctuate based on external approval. Without the safety net of social affirmation, she learns to develop her resilience. In moments of doubt or challenge, she must find the strength to motivate herself. She learns to be her own source of encouragement, discovering that she can stand back up on her own after a fall. This resilience becomes one of her most valuable qualities, as it shows her that she is capable of navigating life's ups and downs independently. When she faces challenges without depending on friends to lift her spirits, she realizes the depth of her inner strength. This resilience empowers her to pursue her goals and overcome obstacles with a newfound sense of courage and self-reliance. She knows that no matter what, she has her own back, and this realization is both empowering and grounding. As she spends time alone, she also learns the importance of setting personal boundaries. Friendships and social dynamics can sometimes blur boundaries, leading her to compromise her values or needs to maintain harmony or please others. However, when she is standing alone, she has the freedom to establish boundaries that align with her values and protect her energy. She gains clarity about what she will and will not tolerate, and she learns to prioritize her well-being. This boundary setting extends beyond solitude and becomes a lasting part of her interactions with others, enabling her to cultivate healthier, more balanced relationships in the future. By learning to respect her own limits, she sends a powerful message to herself and others that her needs and feelings are important, deserving of consideration and respect. Being without friends can also open her eyes to the richness of self-care and self-appreciation, and she has the space to nurture herself without relying on others for comfort or happiness. She learns to enjoy her own company, to treat herself with kindness, and to celebrate her own accomplishments. Small acts of self-care, whether it's a walk in nature, indulging in a creative hobby, or simply taking time to relax, become sources of joy and fulfillment. This practice of self-care reinforces her understanding that she is whole on her own. She doesn't need anyone else to validate her worth or bring her happiness. She is capable of filling her own cup, and this realization fosters a profound sense of contentment and self-appreciation that stays with her long after this solitary period. In learning to stand alone, she begins to recognize her own voice and intuition more clearly. Without the opinions of friends to influence her decisions, she has the opportunity to listen deeply to her own instincts. She learns to trust her intuition, to follow her own path, and to make choices that align with her values and desires. This process is transformative as it shows her that she is capable of guiding herself through life's uncertainties. She no longer needs to second-guess her choices or seek approval from others because she knows her own mind. This inner clarity allows her to walk through life with confidence, assured in her ability to make decisions that reflect her true self. The journey of standing alone also fosters a profound sense of independence. When she no longer relies on others for support, she discovers that she has all the resources she needs within herself. She learns that she is strong enough to handle challenges, resilient enough to recover from setbacks, and wise enough to find her way forward. This independence becomes a core part of who she is, allowing her to approach life with a sense of freedom and autonomy. She is no longer bound by the need for others' validation or support because she knows that she is fully capable on her own. Standing alone teaches her that her self-worth is unbreakable. It isn't something that can be given or taken away by anyone else. It resides within her, unwavering and constant. Through this process, she emerges stronger, more resilient, and deeply grounded in the knowledge that she is enough as she is. She no longer defines herself by her social circle or the validation of others. Instead, she walks through life with an inner confidence that shines from within, anchored in the belief that she is complete, worthy, and powerful on her own. This understanding transforms her, enabling her to build a life rooted in authenticity, independence, and self-respect. When she steps back into the world, she is no longer seeking approval or validation. She knows her worth, and she carries that knowledge with pride and grace. This journey of standing alone has made her resilient, self-assured, and ready to face whatever life brings her way.